And it is 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody across the globe as we start our Targeting Metabesity conference. I'm here with Thomas Suhr and Adrian Berg, and remotely, our co-chairman, co-founder of the conference, Dr. Larry Steinman. Larry, it's good early morning to you in Palo Alto.
Right, you can see the sun is on the horizon in the east.
Well, wish you were here, and I hope that we will be together all next year. And of course, the three of us are here in Harper's Ferry, a little village about 60 miles up the river from Washington. You'll be hearing a little more about Harper's Ferry in due course. But Larry, I'm thinking of what an adventure this has been, starting in London back in 2017.
Yeah, that was the old world. It's hard to remember how we were living in those days, but the topic remains intensely relevant. And there's a new perspective, of course, because of what we've gone through in the last year and a half, 2 years.
Yes, the pandemic, that little detail, has changed our lives. So we'll be talking more about the connection between metabesity and the pandemic in due course. But let me turn first to Thomas Suhr, who has been a mastermind behind organizing the conference and a leading light in our effort to get our movement going. Thomas, tell us a little bit about what we might expect next year.
Well, next year, we really hope that we can have a hybrid conference go back to an in-person conference. But we see that with these virtual conferences, we're able to reach attendees around the globe who may not be able to join us. So we'd love to do it in both formats. We were thinking of going back to Washington, D.C., but we've also had discussions about going back to London or looking at Singapore. What we do know is that we seem to have a tradition of starting on Columbus Day here in the US. So next year, 2022, would be October 10. So please mark your calendars for the week of October 10, 2022.
Thanks, Thomas. Now, Adrian Berg, Executive Director of the Kitalys Institute, has plenty to say, always does, and it's always golden. But you might just start about some of the technical issues or housekeeping issues we should take care of.
Sure, this is really your conference, and there are many, many ways for you to participate if you know how. Primarily, go over to Cadence. It's our platform. It's very rich in your ability to have your voice heard. If you go to the welcome message, which is in your email, you're probably on Cadence right now if you're listening to us this way, you're going to see a menu. It starts with that little house icon. And down there, you'll be able to do a variety of things. You can set your own schedule. You can see our speakers. You can see their bios. And every time you go on a session or participate in some of our gamifications, you'll get points automatically. What will you win? Well, you'll win the books of many of our speakers. You want to go to the bookstore and see that? You can do that right on Cadence. But probably the most important thing you can do is engage with each other. Go to the section that says people. You know who you'll find there? You, your name. Please put in your picture, your bio, the things that interest you, and connect with the others. It's very easy to network during these next 4 days. And tell us what you think and give us your information on the live feed. We're very interested to hear what you have to say, what interested you, and add your articles and your information. This is really your conference. And I'll end by saying that tomorrow, Thomas and I are going to tell you about an ongoing Kitalys campus where you'll be able to engage and collaborate all year long. So this is really a very unique event, not just to educate, but to collaborate. And we have some wonderful supporters and sponsors. I hope you'll engage with them. So today we start a very good 4 days of interacting and breaking those silos between careers that have to do with health span, aging, geroscience, academia, and a lot more.
Thanks, Adrian. And Thomas, I turn back to you to think about some of the major themes that sweep across the conference. One is the ideal of health resilience as it relates to national security and even economic considerations. Maybe you could expand on that.
Well, I think that we address many challenges. There are many complex challenges for bringing about healthy longevity for all, which is sort of the defining theme of the conference. We do have some sessions such as national policy with global lessons, but I think I'm really excited because every day, every block is a fascinating topic that needs to be addressed in order for us to pull together for achieving our goals. So I'm really stoked.
Yeah, I am too. And Adrian, of course, one of the important themes is health equity.
Yes.
And please say a few words about that.
Well, there's two parts to that. And we have on October 12th, 2 sessions that are really companion sessions. One is our own personal behaviors, but without us being engaged in health span and understanding what healthy longevity is all about and having access to everything that we do need to live longer and healthier, we really can't engage in our own personal behaviors. So the second part of our behavior section is really about health span or healthy longevity equity. Now, the Kitalys mission is that we have healthy longevity for all. And for all is really a very big phrase. We mean that. We have the top experts in how we can make equitable distribution of our advancements in geroscience with us on that particular session. And we hope that we will be heard, and we hope we will find solutions to this very difficult problem of creating more equity in longevity. We don't feel that we do have this ready and set. Our science may be ahead of our social science, and we would like to change that.
Thanks, Adrian. And speaking of science, Larry, you are a preeminent scientist and in multiple areas, immunologist, neurologist, and of course you'll be coming back as a panelist, but the length and breadth of science that we will be covering in some degree is largely thanks to you. You bring your friends. We've got a whole bunch of fellow National Academy of Medicine members, including the president, Victor Zhao. And typically, you are the one who has the clout to get these friends of yours to show up, and we thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, but honestly, I think it's the subject and the opportunity to address the subject of longevity among a group of interested parties with expertise along many dimensions that go beyond science. The science has to be implemented. As we've learned, good science without implementation doesn't get us anywhere. So I think the coherence of all of the parts is greater than any individual. But thank you for kind words.
Well, thank you for all that you brought to the conference. And we will start first and foremost this morning after our keynote discussion with just former Commissioner Stephen Hahn. We'll start with a panel that looks at the basic science and what are very promising approaches for putting something into the clinic. And so that's going to be a particularly interesting panel. And then the next day, you'll pick it up with another panel that starts a little further down the development cycle or development pathway. And that will be to look at actual candidates that are ready for prime time, that is for clinical trials. So this is all going to be fascinating, but it doesn't stop with the hard basic laboratory science. We've got some leading social scientists who will be joining us this year, and that is extremely exciting to me.
And you know, we have a very different format, and I'm going to give you a shout out, Zan. Around the middle of the year last year, Zan said, you know, I don't want any talking heads. I'm sick and tired of going to conferences where people are talking at you. What can we do instead? And what he came up with, and we were able to implement it, it's almost miraculous, is really like little think tanks. Our sessions are, as I say, really you in your chat as attendees, and very prestigious attendees, because I was looking at our roster, can participate in this. We have very short presentations and then discussions, or what Thomas likes to call salons, where people begin to talk about their ideas, the challenges, the solutions. And maybe we will really make a headway and move the needle on healthy longevity for all. And you participate in it. We are very interested. Your influence counts.
And Thomas, that has been a driving concept, the salon, what we would enjoy, the kind of movies we'd like to see. That really is, I think, a distinction of this conference.
I think the idea is when you put leaders of various disciplines together, sort of seat them together at the dinner or on the panel and get them wound up discussing and jointly problem solving, the amount of insights that drop out have been amazing. And we've had that format to varying degrees. We started that in London in 2017, but I think the more we've seen of that format, the more we've gravitated toward it.
And I keep talking about the attendees because the first time I went to a Metabesity conference was 2019, and it was in Washington. And what impressed me was the fact that you had microphones all over the actual brick and mortar site, and attendees could get up and say their piece. So you can do that now even more easily in Cadence by going to live feed, put in your posts, and engage in all of that we're talking about. We're listening to you.
But we do promise to continue that format when we go back to the live meeting.
Can't wait.
And again, yeah, we can't wait.
No, we can't. Really.
There's no substitute for going live. And I hope that we will have a big attendance at our next real-time meeting. And we're counting on it being, again, October
10, 2022.
Right, put it on your calendar. Well,
However, having said that, going live is certainly what we all want to do, but I just replied to Dr. Shenoy in India. So we're global, and we'll most likely have to always have a virtual arm given how everything is changing.
that is right, Larry. And eventually we probably need to have 2 or 3 meetings a year in different regions. And so I suspect we'll head in that direction.
That was the original intent, as I recall, to have a what we would call the major meeting, but really go to different regions and begin integrating specific needs in specific parts of the world that, of course, vary from what we face in Washington, Harper's Ferry, Stanford.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting towards the end of our little chat.